Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and today myself and Susan are discussing a film from 1984, which is a sequel to a 1960s movie, cult classic, also developed from a book by Arthur C. Clarke, who did the
hmm
original book. Um, Stanley Kubrick did the original movie. This is done by, what's his name? Got it here, Peter Hyams.
Yeah,
Uh, he wouldn't have done this movie without the blessing of Kubrick.
yeah.
Apparently, he got in touch with Kubrick and said, "Can I have your blessing to do this?" Um, we are talking 2010, the year we make Contact, the sequel to 2001: A Space Odyssey. So it's 9 years since the strange appearances of the monolith. So, Susan, opening thoughts of 2010.
All right. Well, I read all of these. I read 2001, 2010, 2026, which is weird because this is the year that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one further on out. And what's enjoyable about these is the continual presence of a few of the scientists. Let me get there quickly with who who all kind of surrounded this movie. Um, First of all, the screenplay was written by Peter Hyams, which was great. I mean, he did a really good adaptation of it. It's very close to the original. Um, the bits that were a little metaphysical about traveling through space, like exploring the whole universe, the Star Child, uh, um, let's see, Dave Bowman sort of going everywhere and then returning to Earth to love his mother and pass on some grace to his former wife, was really, those were really sort of sparkly moments in this movie. And I think Douglas Rain played the HAL 9000 in both.
Yeah.
And and Roy Schneider was in both. And Roy Schneider I think it was pretty much fresh off of the Jaws thing, or he was just about ready to shoot Jaws. It was either one or the other, but it was really
Jaws was in the 70s, this was in the 80s.
okay. So, yeah, okay. Um, and the other thing that was really key to this thing was the nearness to Jupiter and the experience of being in space near Jupiter, uh, which when they first go out, and meet Discovery, it's in a stationary orbit above Io, and I thought that was very interesting because Io it was it, this is like a body problem again.
Mm-hmm.
This ship isn't very much mass, but it moves closer to Io as it's being pulled away from the huge gravity well of Jupiter. And that was something that the physicists were like, hell is going on here? And some of the technical aspects or the astrophysical aspects of this were covered in the book, but also um, this was a, a sort of another push into that area of discovery. Um, and one of the things that I loved a lot about this particular movie was Helen Mirren playing the Russian
Hmm.
cosmonaut captain, who was so uh, she's so very Stalinist Russia. She's just like very, very dry, very. I mean, it was nothing. She's such a talented actress. Like you've got this, and then you've got Red, and then you've got these other the Queen. I mean, she's got so much fucking latitude. She's she's bomb, and Dr. Chandra, like you got worries about him being involved because was he going to take Hal's side? And um, kind of almost did, steal the Discovery and run off into space with this Hal. And it's funny because one of Alex's very favorite people is Hal Sparks, who is actually named after the HAL 9000 computer on 2010. Anyway, and then it's funny because you get a chance to listen to Chandra's other computer, Sal 9000 or whatever.
Sal,
Sal,
Sal, yeah.
yeah. Sal was an AI that was voiced by Candice Bergen uh, under a different name. I mean, it was really interesting. You don't hear it until you watch it. Like just having started taking notes on this thing, I was like, I have to go back and re-listen to that. And in this movie, there are some touchstones that are that are built out in later. There's like a discount Jeff Goldblum um, who was um, Oleg Rutnik, and then there was discount Don S. Davis, and his name was Dana Elcar. And Don S. Davis, of course, is with Stargate SG-1 and a couple episodes of Stargate Atlantis. But the thing of it is that Donis Davis was actually Dana Elcar's stunt double in uh, in Knight Rider, so that was really fun. And so also there was discount Courtney Vanderpool, who is actually played by Madeline Smith Osment, and she was uh, she was really she was really interesting to watch because I just was like, that is that is somebody else, yeah, and I couldn't figure it out. And I've got some more notes, but that's my opening thoughts just to kind of get to the cast. This is a really this is a really good movie, and I have I have enjoyed watching it again. What's your opening thoughts, Lee, and what's your faves about it?
Well, you're never ever going to top the original movie, but
No.
because that's just such a cult classic. It's become over the years. This when it was announced back in the 80s, because I remember this coming out in the 80s, it was people was quite surprised that the sequel had been made, and big names as Roy Scheider and Helen Mirren and John Lithgow
John
uh,
Lithgow. Yeah.
yeah. um, appearing in this, and also the returning what's it, Keir Dulis and Douglas Rain as the voice of HAL 9000.
Uh-huh.
So you are getting two elements from the classic original returning.
Right?
And for me, from the original, HAL 9000 made that movie with that so calm, collective voice, but with that threatening undertone,
Yeah.
which, in my opinion, was sort of missing in this. But it was good to hear that voice again when it was reactivated. Um,
Yeah.
and for me, this movie just looks so damn good on screen.
Hmm.
The imagery is as good as the '60s original, but what
Hmm.
they could do in the '80s was a lot, and yeah, okay, model work and stuff like that. But to me, you couldn't tell.
Right.
It looked, with Jupiter in the background and them spacewalking and amazing shots. Um, yeah, and to me, this was I don't know if because I've not read the book, but to me, the film was more of a kick in the teeth to the Cold War, what was happening
Uh-huh.
on this
So
planet at the
so
time.
is the book. So is the book.
I
The book is
I've never read the book, so it
it really lines right up. I mean, like they're very close. Good,
yeah.
good, good
Um,
call. That's great.
near it as the movie was getting along, and then nearing the end when you've got to go to that ship, you've got to stay here. That the Russian and Americans are at loggerheads again. Um,
Hmm.
it's just thinking, oh, it's the Cold War metaphor, um, which it was great. I mean, this came out in '84, and if I remember rightly, I mean, in this movie they had the Russians and Americans working together.
Hmm.
But I remember in real life in '84, just going back to the Olympics, that was the year Russia boycotted the Olympics because was it in Los Angeles in
Yeah.
'84? Yeah, so it wasn't really working well down on Earth in real life. Um, but in
No.
the Americans and Russians were together. Um,
In the
yeah,
book too. Yeah, in the book too.
yeah, um, yeah. Okay, these books were written a while back by Arthur C. Clarke. And once these years come up, 2001, 2010, it's nothing like that. But you can't change that. Um,
No. And we haven't reached Mars yet, so
yeah,
but
true.
but
Um,
there's no like established living quarters on the moon.
yeah, I would have liked to have seen, as you call it, the Star Child a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we only got a glimpse of it when Floyd was
Bowman.
talking to Bowman when he kept changing, aging, and then the Star Child appeared, and then that was it. Um,
Yeah, that exploration of the whole cosmos was so cool in the book.
yeah,
Yeah,
it, it, I mean, it is a. I mean, I don't know why they haven't made the next chapter in this franchise. You know, the book franchise. I don't know if it's down to rights now because Arthur C. Clarke's no longer with us, and so maybe it's down to his estate. But it would be
and
nice to have.
maybe
It would be nice to have the third chapter in this. This book franchise. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It began. It did begin slowly, but once it got into space, that's when it kicked in for me. But there again, go back to the original. It started very slowly. With the monolith and
yeah,
the monolith and the ape men and all like that. It was very slow. Um, but yeah, I'm surprised that this movie hasn't got the cult status that the original has got nowadays. Because to me, it's still an enjoyable movie, and it's a good addition, follow on from that movie.
it
Um,
is.
yeah, it's. Like I say, I can't knock any of the acting. The acting was brilliant in this. Um, as you say, Helen Mirren, she could, for me personally, I think she could have had a little bit more to do. But if it's sticking to sort of closely to the book, maybe this is what the character was like in the book. So, but it would have been nice to have her a little bit more involved in everything.
Yeah.
She was sort of like a side character.
Hmm.
Um, but to me, I like anything. John Lithgow. I would say 99% of the time I like the stuff he does.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, he's a brilliant actor. Um, and he doesn't seem to ever age, does he? He's always looked the same.
Right.
But yeah, visually, it's a visually stunning movie, as was the original. Um, so, Susan, back to you. Any other thoughts you've written down?
Well, yeah, the other books, the next one is, I was wrong. It wasn't 2024, it was 2061, and
Mhm.
then 3001. And apparently, um, I don't know if it's the Russians or some other, it's a Slavic country that has done all four
All right.
books. Yeah. And one of the other things that I really like um, is that the Star Child, uh, Gary Lockwood,
Mhm.
he was in that Star Trek, the one where he played Gary Seven. Oh my gosh, that was intense. I just remember him being able to sort of exude some weirdness. And, that was way back in the 60s. And then for him to be able to move from a character, a human character, into this sort of, um, would you call it a supernatural being, or would you call him just a metaphysical, or transcendental, or
Yeah.
something like that? These characteristics of Bowman are just, that was really, you know, and uh, and then the other thing that's really cool about the visuals in this, uh, since you mentioned quite a few of them,
Yeah.
this was right after, uh, I think it was Voyager 2, sent back images of Jupiter. that were able to be incorporated in this. And this was like right after they newly discovered ring around Jupiter. So that was present. That was really cool. And I always thought, you know, in my in my recollection, I always thought that the fusion engine that the monolith was starting in Jupiter started in the red spot. But the way this was shot, it was on the other side of the planet, and it was a black spot. And so I just it was just really interesting how they did that. And I liked how they did the zoom in, and eventually it got like it looked like fractals.
Trippy and stuff. All those obelisks kind of in a fractal formation, kind of a spiral. It was really cool. I like the obelisk. I like the whole thing. Like it's 149, 1 by 4 by 9, 1 squared by 2 squared by 3 squared, and the you know there was a discussion about learning a language of an alien creature, and Star Trek had the universal translator, and uh, uh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has the Babel fish, and
Yep.
then there are other, you know, Stargate SG-1 has Daniel Jackson learning to translate everything from, Abydos, and then into the language of the Goa'uld, and then into the ancients. And I mean, he just had he was able to linguistically parse out all these other languages. And what was interesting is that uh, the only the only ambassador was became HAL 9000
Yep.
with what he beamed back to Earth. All of these worlds are yours to explore and use. Do this. Only do not go to Europa. Do not attempt landing there. It is not for you. Leave it the fuck alone. Whatever that was. And then use them together. Use them in peace. In other words, you sons of bitches back on Earth, you better not get this wrong, because we're counting on you to make the next steps of space and stuff. And otherwise, we got Europa, and you're not allowed here. So, I mean, it's kind of like, and as someone who can, make a nerdy jump here, I also see it like the way that the aliens were speaking to us in Contact. I I like the fact that that word is now has a lot of cultural quotients about it. You
Mhm.
know, the word contact means to to interact with aliens, and to become more humble by their energetic uh, education of humanity. And yeah, I mean, there are way more positive experiential uh, sort of sort of future things, like like Star Trek with like our unity with the Andorans, the Vulcans, and eventually like the Klingons and the I mean all of these other planets in the United Federation of Planets. Yeah. And Stargate SG-1, where we meet the Jaffa and we love the Jaffa and they become our buddies, and then the the other ones, the Tolan or whatever, and then the ones that aren't the gold but still have the little symbiote. I don't know those guys. So those like three different groups form yet another sort of unity. But in this one, these aliens are assuming Earth is a human hegemony over this
Mhm.
solar system, and are they're gonna stand up. And I have written down here ACC equals bench sitter. What is that? The bench?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. I can't. So that is like the only note on my preliminary work for this podcast that but I really do enjoy the fact that they did talk about the dreams.
Mm.
Andrew talked about computer dreams, electric dreams, in
My dream.
conversation with Sal,
Yeah.
and then his conversation with Hal again. And I mean, that was the existential question. Not is there anything more? Because Sal and Hal both knew that there was tons more, and um, maybe inspired Philip K. Dick to write "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep."
Well, it all depends when that was written.
I know, it's true. And um, yeah, I just really love. Oh, Arthur C. Clarke. That's what ACC was. God, dummy. Arthur C. Clarke actually has a character role in this, a non-speaking role. He's sitting in Washington D.C. when they go to their surreptitious meeting place in the park. One of the people sitting on the benches is when um, when let's see, hang on. When when Floyd and the senator, I think it was, or the head of NASA or something, um, are having their conversation. Arthur C. Clarke is right across the path from them on another bench.
Well, I was going to mention another appearance in this movie.
Uh huh.
Um, there's a likeness of Arthur C. Clarke on the cover of Times magazine, which the nurse is reading in the hospital.
Oh,
And I, it was if you blink, you miss it when she puts it down. I'm positive because there's two faces, and one was Arthur C. Clarke, and I'm positive the other face was Kubrick.
cool.
The beard, I'm sure it was Kubrick.
Oh, okay.
But with um,
With his mom, with Floyd's mom. Or no, Bowman's mom.
Bowman, Bowman's mum. That was it. Yeah,
Oh,
when the nurse is reading the magazine and not paying attention to the screen.
that's
I'm
a,
positive that was Arthur C. Clarke and Kubrick on the cover of the Times magazine.
that's fantastic.
So, and also as well, the set layout and the design of the ship, the Russian ship.
Yeah,
I don't know about you. I got the feel of Alien.
yeah,
You know what?
100%.
The way they were sat around, just sat around the table, and even their overalls, and I'm thinking very Alien, Ridley Scott.
Yeah,
I don't know. They just borrowed stuff from each other, didn't they? Steal from the best.
yeah.
It was, yeah, it was. Say it was a great
Well, Alien came out in 80. Yeah.
79.
Okay, well, anyway, what you very well may have figured out the wardrobe team's go to. That's all, and the set design go to. That's awesome.
But yeah, it's I like the movie. As I say, it's a slow burn to begin with. But once they all get into space, heading towards Jupiter to encounter the monolith. I mean, the monolith. It's still astounding to see it in this one as it was in the first movie. My God, it's full of stars. What a great quote! And to start the movie with that,
Yeah,
yeah, brilliant. Anything else, Susan?
yeah. Well, it's not opposed to pulling people in.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I wonder how many different species are buried in that monolith, or or what that whole thing is. That's a
Because
really,
you don't really find out any answers.
you
What
don't. It's
what began
still
in
left there.
with
Mysterious.
2001, and you don't find any really answers in 2010. The movie, you don't know what the monolith really is. You don't know what the Star Child. You know, you just know that you've been told to stay away from Europa.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, it's a good storytelling.
Yeah, and it is pretty timely. I mean, like instead of Honduras, it's Venezuela, but the
Mm.
U.S. is still poking fun at our neighbors.
And the rest of the world.
Uh, yeah,
Don't worry, he'll get his comeuppance.
yeah. The other thing that was, I mean, it was based on on a hell of a lot of accurate science and
Mm. Well, yeah, well, Arthur C. Clarke, he was. I'm sure he was. Was he? He was a scientist, wasn't he, to begin with?
yeah. I don't know what his specialty was, physics or chemistry or something. But
Check.
these stories that he wrote were so accurate
Yeah,
scientifically.
I'll just
And
check what he. Uh, duh, 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 um, fiction. Clark was an inventor. He published a paper proposing the use of geostationary satellites for global telecommunications.
yeah,
That was it. Yeah.
but that is a part of rocket science and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
It was that type of
Uh-huh.
scientist.
Good.
Mm. Anything else, or should we go to fans
That was
first?
it. No, I really enjoy uh, you know science fiction that comes from books that is translated well onto the screen. Kubrick and then Hyams. I mean, I, I didn't know Hyams before, like his name became very sort of high on my search list this
Yeah.
last week. I did enjoy rifling
Well,
through.
it's amazing though that to think he went to Kubrick
Yeah,
to ask for permission, his blessing for
yeah,
him to do the sequel. I
yeah,
mean, I mean Kubrick really didn't. It was Arthur C. Clarke what wrote the story, but for him to go to Kubrick and say, "Can I do the sequel?" Because Kubrick didn't want to do a sequel,
right.
but he said, "Yeah, go ahead." I mean, I think that he made a damn fine sequel.
Me too.
Yeah. So it's just that it hasn't got the status what the original has got. Maybe in another 10, 15 years, you never know. This might
Yeah,
be more appreciated.
yeah.
Uh,
It,
okay,
it,
then,
it definitely had. It was definitely more. There was more motion in this one than there was in 2001.
yeah.
2001 was more like legato, and this one's more like, allegro.
Mhm. So, with that said, what's what's your final saying, Scott? Then for
All right, for the greatness of the story, yeah, I just love this, and I love, um, yeah, I really think that this is a good series, and it'd be great if they did the next couple. That would
Mhm.
be brilliant, and um, and so for all of these things, I will give this 10 out of 10. Uh, like Discovery spaceships out of 10. Um,
So, as I said, it's visually stunning. The acting in this is brilliant. If you're looking for answers from the first movie, you're not going to get really much answers. Uh, you just left,
no,
you just left with more questions. Um, but it does keep you in your seat watching this. So for me, 2010, the year we make contact, which we didn't do. Um,
I keep hoping.
I'm going to give
When
the.
are they coming to get you, Lee? When are your people coming to return you to home?
What do you mean by that?
Mhm. Mine have just left me here for the long haul.
For a very good reason. Um,
Really reason.
I'm going to give this. Yeah, it does start off slow, but as I say, once they get to the trip to Jupiter, it
Yeah,
picks up. So I'm still going to give this 10 monoliths out of 10.
yeah, of course. That's
Please
great.
give it a watch. I mean, I don't think people have nowadays have heard of the sequel. Um, it is a good watch. Some, say, great action in this. Scheider, Mirren, Lithgow, just to name three. Um, yeah, give it a watch. So that's our little review of the movie this week. If you'd like to join us, please leave a message on this video or any other videos you find and say, I would like to join you. Um, all you need to be is 18 and over because there's some things we discuss are 18 rated. Um, also, we'll, if you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, please remember press that bell notification button. Yeah, and you'll get notified every time we put a video. I think that's it, Susan.
All right, that's it.
I think so, yeah. that was a short and sweet one. So until next time, we will see you on the other side. And please be safe out there. Bye for now.